Welcome to Roatan Honduras. Join me as we take an aerial view all around the island and we discuss the most frequently asked questions about visiting Roatan Honduras. The first question, or the top question about Roatan, is it safe? Well, I first came to Roatan when I was a single 25-year-old female. I have never had any issues on the island, living here around 15 years. I will say you have to use street smarts, and just like any place, if you're not familiar, be very careful where you go at night. If you're going down a shady alley, maybe you want to think twice about that. Keep your personal belongings or don't show off your wealth. And I use those rules when I'm traveling anywhere, especially if I'm traveling by myself or if I'm traveling with my family. I don't carry things that people want to steal or have show them off, even though I am walking around with camera equipment right here, and you can see me in right here is actually West Bay, and I do have all my video equipment, my drones, I guess just be smart where you're going. It's same for any place you are traveling, especially if you are not familiar with the area. The next is, what kind of money is used in Roatan, Honduras? So it is part of Honduras. Now, we are the Bay Islands, but we are part of Honduras, so the national currency is a lempira. However, USD is also commonly accepted. With that said, USD, there is no, treaty, meaning they have to accept USD. So there is some discretion with that. So if you are going to use USD, make sure it's clean, doesn't have any pin marks, doesn't have any tears or anything of that nature. And I like to avoid 20s. 50s, 100s are good, and then change. I personally carry around 5s and 10s. That seems to go over the best if I am carrying USD with me. Lempiras are also great. We are about 25 to 1, so 100 lemps is now $4, and a 500 lempira is roughly $20, just so it's good to know the math. It's slightly lower, it's around 24.5, but for my math, I do 25 to 1. The next question is, what language is spoken in Roatan, Honduras? So, once again, we're Honduras. National language is Spanish, but Roatan is part of the Bay Islands, which does have a similar origin story to the Cayman Islands and Belize, both of which are English speaking. So we do primarily speak English on the island, especially in the tourist areas. It's going to be primarily English, and it will be, or you can speak Spanish anywhere you go as well, but you will be very comfortable in any of the tourist areas speaking English. We are passing over Big French Key right now, and the reef is absolutely extraordinary. But back to the question. So what is the population of Roatan, Honduras? So roughly between 110 and 130,000 native population. And then we also have roughly 15,000 immigrants that came from areas outside of Central America, or that is according to the latest census. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I'm going to go with it. So, is Roatan, Honduras cheap, or why is it so expensive? Long story short, we are a tourist island, so tourism does bring in higher prices. And the fact that we are an island and we have to import almost everything. So it's very hard to keep prices down when you have the extra expenses of shipping everything in. And then there is duties on most of the items as well, especially depending on where you are shipping it. So things are more expensive. I think it's very comparable to most areas of the United States where, food, if you are in a high tourism area, your prices are going to be a lot higher than if you are in less of a tourist area or a more local area. So prices are going to vary a lot. But in general, everything's more expensive here because we're on an island and we have to bring it all in. The food, it's usually between $10 and $30 per person, depending on where you're going. Your cocktails are not included in that price, where they're going to vary from, sometimes you can get beer for $1 or a shot for $1, all the way up to, I think, the most expensive drink I've seen on the island is around $22, not including wine. That can range, well, that's a whole nother story, but cocktails, I'd say they're between $10 and $15, just depending on what you get and where you are going. So they're also, we're going back to, why do so many people immigrate to Roatan, Honduras? Why are there so many expats on the island? Well, as an immigrant to this beautiful island, I can say I like my quality of life and being able to raise my family here. I don't really like the answers that Google is giving me, but there are a lot of retirees, and it's just a little bit lower cost of living overall than most places in North America or Europe. I personally love diving and worked in the dive industry for a long time, and it just kind of was a natural progression to stay here from the time I was 25 to, well, I'm much older now. So next is buying property. Can foreigners buy property in Roatan, Honduras? So this is going to be a little bit of a loaded question, double-edged sword, if you will, but yes, foreigners are allowed to buy up to 3/4 of an acre in their personal name at a time. If you do want to buy more land, it has to be bought by a Honduran company. So it is somewhat limited, but it is very easy to buy less than 3/4 of an acre in Roatan, Honduras. Last 3 questions. Are there bugs in Roatan, Honduras? Yes, there are bugs. We're in the jungle. There's lots of bugs. Bring bug spray. Eco-friendly stuff is probably the best for the environment, but a lot of people use DEET. What is so special about Roatan, Honduras? Well, I personally came for the reef and the scuba diving, and then fell in love with the people and the culture, which, well, that's what made this place so special for me, and that's why most people do visit, is for the water activities. We also have some really, really great food. And the last one is, do you tip in Roatan, Honduras? I would say a firm yes on this. Most people that work in the tourism industry work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And I personally think tipping is wonderful. And some of the time that is the only money that individuals get. So your baggage handler at the grocery store, I love to give them money. I tip usually at least 20%, assuming everything was well. And if you can keep my kids happy, if we're playing at a pool, playing at the beach, I'm going to give you anything that you want because you kept my kids happy, which allowed us to have a wonderful day. So that was a rapid fire 10 questions. If there's anything else you ever have any questions about, my door is always open. I hope that you loved the aerial tour as much as I did. And the last bonus is, what are things to do? A lot of water activities. Anything you can find on most islands, we have it here. We have great food, pools everywhere. And these are some of the pictures of some of my favorite dishes in Roatan. The tuna is usually fresh catch, always amazing. Snorkeling here is absolutely wonderful. If this is your first time in Honduras, no trip is complete without a baleada. And we also are known for our local ceviches made with lime that are beautiful. And we have so much great art just all around the island and really talented individuals. So if you are visiting Roatan for a day, 30 years, whatever your trip is, I hope you have a wonderful time. And these are just a few photos of my favorite things. Cruise ships, we have a ton of them on the island all the time, and underwater is my favorite place to be on this beautiful island. And I was so lucky to find the seahorse, and there we go with our beautiful sunsets. Have a good one. Thanks so much for tuning in.